Okay, we've got the okay from management. They're telling us that we can go to our breakout sessions now and continue with our games for children in language immersion. So I believe the tech people will be separating us. Cass will have a session, I'll have a session, and Ben Ikawe will have a session as well.
All right, and then I just want to add one more thing. I'm going to put the discussion question in the chat that we're going to talk about. We were talking about it a lot during the presentation, but what are some games you use in language immersion in your own community? Or if they're not in the language, how could you develop them or adapt them to be full immersion in culture and both language? And another thing to add, the bookmaking resource, you can find it on the platform. Ours has been translated into Anishinaabe. So if you're looking to use that resource, it's there, and you can translate it in your own languages too, of how to make the book, and then some vocabulary associated with it too. So just those two things, and I think we're ready to go, unless you got anything to say, Bim. Good.
Thumbs up. All right, here we go. We're going into our breakout rooms.
As in Ira Hayes.
All right.
The Johnny Cash song. For me, like I was saying in the chat, I use puppetry a lot with children, even adults, and so I'll just use anything like this. For example, I was kind of waving this around earlier. This is a plastic old vice grip, and I just attached eyes to it. I glued them on there, and he could talk in the language. Bonjour, Anishnikazun, that kind of thing. So anything that looks cute, like maybe that'll this guy here, Animal from the Muppet Show, and you could carry on a conversation, especially with. I find that the elders and young children, they will really respond to the puppets. So I've used them at gatherings, like huge gatherings, in breakout sessions. I'll bring them out, and then he'll talk in the language. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a comb, and the comb could start talking. What's the comb's experience? Because in the language there's the animate and inanimate, right? In certain things, like a cooking pot can start a conversation, that kind of thing. It's a good way of teaching the language, and it engages the listeners, or the audience. So,
do you ever make puppets with children?
my sister makes a lot of puppets, and I create the costumes. I don't have them; they're all downstairs. But I got a huge bin of puppets where I have a Clint Eastwood puppet, the character from the Warriors movie. I have all kinds of characters that I use, and I'll even turn um, just stuffed animals, anything that looks unusual. Like I love peacocks, so I have peacock posters in the house and all kinds of things. And I found this in the Valley Village, so I thought, okay, this is going to be a puppet. So bonjour,
Bonjour.
Agam Donji,
Ni-
Agam Donji. I come from an exotic place, so anyway.
It would be really fun to make clothing for the puppets with kids, using like our
Yes.
old socks or old jackets, and being like
Hmm.
gigash gigwasna, and teaching
Yes.
like those words. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So that's. I was very fortunate during the lockdown to do all that kind of stuff on Zoom, and when I did get to go out during the summer, it was all open air gatherings where I I have seat or a chair, with my guitar and my puppets, and the kids would be all on the grass, and so it was a lot of fun. I was very fortunate to be able to do that through the lockdown. Yeah.
And I see that Lorraine has posted in the chats that they find puppets allows for students to not be afraid to take chances, that they speak through them and to them. And you can also teach about conduct and the way we carry ourselves. So well-being and relationships. And I think that
Yes.
touches on your storytelling too.
Yeah. If I may add another comment quickly, what I found is when you take the students out of the classroom and take them out on the land, or just for even for a short walk around the school or something, they tend to open up and they'll engage more and they'll start asking you questions. Whereas in the classroom, like if you ask them, if you say, "Is there any questions?" It's just dead silence. But when you're out there, they're ready to ask you questions. I don't know what it is, something about being out in the open air, like walk by a river or something. And then what I always do is I'll show them a particular branch or something, and this is what it's called. Mi ojni katek or pitigomish. Kena su kena ogutugweni go eh. Ogutugweni go up and tamam jage asati, like a poplar. We go asati, the birch, and I'll tell them, right. And if it's something that we already covered in the language in the classroom, I'll point it out while we're out there. Shingub, the the fir tree. So yeah.
All right, miigwech. All right, so we got some puppets going on and all the types of activities you can do with puppets and the games you can play. Are there any other types of games that you're using in your classrooms or with your kiddies? Yeah, Tyler.
So when I worked with a community partner in one of the classes, language speaker in the public school system, and he would just try to make everything into a game, and it was like the most fantastic thing I've ever seen. So he'd like look in the closet and he'd find a beach ball, and then he'd blow it up, and then he'd toss it around, and he'd say, "Okay, animals. Everyone's got to say a different one. If not, you get put out of the circle." But everyone comes back in after, and you just do another round. So people were having to like identify what words being said, and then try to think of something new. So he would do that with all different kinds of like subjects and stuff like that, and it was always just really organic and on the fly. Ron Konutsky was who I was working with, and it was just beautiful to see like how he could just make a game out of anything, and then like little mini races of identifying things. We didn't have the most space within the schooling we were in and stuff like that. So we just kind of always made the best of the space we had, and yeah. So I guess like for me, the games that we use were just kind of, you make anything a game somehow. If you find a beach ball, find you know a blanket, everyone's got to stand on that, or chairs, or just whatever we could do to kind of go along with that. And with games, that everyone was just so engaged with it. A lot of kids that are students that wouldn't speak before really would kind of start to have fun with it, and then it would help them participate and be a part of the class. Um, I always went to dollar store, got little trinkets for little prizes and stuff like that, and everyone would get one. But it was always nice to kind of go first and stuff like that. So I guess that's what I wanted to share. Is just that if you're limited in space, limited in resources, and like you were mentioning too, with the hands behind the back, as soon as you kind of like put that little competitive edge into it, people are just like loving it and participating in there. So miigwech for sharing that, and that's all I have. So anyway.
US, yeah. When we were given the topic of games for children, because the elders, they came together to create this conference, and that's what they had wanted to see be presented. It's kind of hard because it's not like I want to sell a bunch of games. We have lots of things in our communities to play games with, and we don't need like the newest Monopoly set or something like this. Like Ron, he's so amazing at making games on the fly. So it's nice to see what other teachers are doing. So miigwech for sharing, Tyler. And I saw you, Harriet, you came off just for a second.
I do. Some of the games I like to play in my classroom, like Go Fish and Ojibwe. I know they have like a Yahtzee one that I haven't really, I've seen it, but I haven't really tailored it to my class. We do I Spy. And the one thing, as a second language learner myself, I always struggled with the numbers, but becoming much more fluent in the numbers. I play bingo with my students, you know, like I love being able to tell them under the G, Nanamatanash and Nanan. You know what I mean? I mean, from there you can transition into telling time. So anything like that, because they love it. Like we'll talk about Flipgrid. I used Flipgrid when we were online for a couple years because I was able to create my own videos and phonetically create a lesson for my students. And then they were able to phonetically say the word and post a video, and they don't even have, I just need to have the audio part of it. I don't necessarily need to see them, but just to hear them. And so it gave them much more freedom and confidence and just a willingness to do it if they were to phonetically just read it. And so I technology, Kahoot, right? There's just so many things you can do with students, songs. You know, I wish I had the ability to play like Ira. That's something that I'm really looking to do, is to be able to play, to create songs with my students. So that's kind of what I've been doing, but I'm always looking for more ideas as to how to incorporate. When I was talking about the Boujou ball, that's basically me saying, and we sit in a circle, we sit on our desks or whatever, and I'll say, Mrs. Visitor Nidishnikaj, Boujou Sean, and I would throw the ball at him, and he would say, oh, the same thing, Boujou Sean Nidishnikaj, Boujou, and then we just pass it on, and without them even realizing that their basic communication, and they're talking and they're saying it, and they're having fun at the same time. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share.
Miguel, that's so exciting. I love the Boujou ball because you can have those conversations like, oh, Nin, Kasndishnikas, Gin Dash, and throw the ball and keep those conversations going. And then you have to like be watching for the ball to come to, you know. Another thing that I like to do in my classes, which Harriet, you've seen, is I like to do dance. So I'll teach a set of vocabulary like gash kikwa, so we're sewing, ni me, to be dancing. And then I'll shout out the words, and whoever does the actions fastest, or maybe they're doing the actions and I have to say the word, but having like movement associated with the words, it can be really helpful. I find sometimes when I'm walking and I'm trying to remember a word, I remember the movement before I remember the word too. All right, we have music is also a great way to learn language. Yes, Catherine, do you sing songs in your classroom, or do you have are you able to come off mute? And if that's okay if you're not able to.
Yeah, I don't, I'm just referring to like my own learning, and as well as in my home with my kids. I remember songs from my childhood, even when I was in Cree class on my res, and I still remember those songs today. So I know music, and it's just that repetition and just having that the melody, I guess, it helps to remember. Like I remember in kindergarten, you know, we learned how to count in Cree using a song, and yeah, it was just a really helpful tool for me with learning. And the game playing, and I've seen like bingo, obviously, in the language is fun. And that's a good way. And it's almost like with flashcards. I have a friend who is from out west, Enoch Cree Nation, and her partner have created flashcards in the language. And so I know it's in Cree, but that's their Cree. So my Cree is Moose Cree. I'm from Moose Cree First Nation. So it would be awesome to have those kinds of learning tools as well. So miigwech.
Miigwech. That's amazing. And I heard that you're also a language learner like me. And so it's always fun to build up these games and find these new sets too. So thank you for sharing. And I see Lorraine has posted in the chat traditional games like Tabahun. I think maybe Lorraine, are you able to come off mute to speak to those or? Yep.
Yeah, sure. Tabahon is basically a stick that you hold and there's a string attached with a loop and then you try to string it or catch the hoop in onto the stick. And then the other one is just tug of war. And those are things that we have. We have a book that's specific to our area, the Mushkegowuk territory, on traditional games that we have access to as part of Omashkego education. And so those are two that came up to mind that I could share. And if you know Stan Wesley, he has the Tabahon. You can actually purchase that from him. So that's one game. And I know that that game actually, my son and I went to Sweden one year for hockey and they had that same toy. I was like, what in the world? But anyway, some of the games, are not, and it's probably because of, contact and influence and what have you. So I don't know who, created that game first, but ultimately it's using the material like, of the land to create them, right? So yeah, so that's what that one is. And then another one is, I know that when we're teaching the young, when we're out on the land, like when I was out on the goose camp with my grandparents, we had the miniature moss bags, right? And the little tikanagana, and those were used to model like roles of, men and women, and preparing them for their roles as men and women, right, as they grow up. So I find those are really good tools to use as well. I have a miniature moss bag and a tikanagan that I like to pull out every now and then and share. There's teachings around those. I don't necessarily have those, but I just like to share that this is how we carried, jijishik, when they were small. And this is, why we use the moss bag, you know what I mean? So I know I have those understandings. So I don't have all of them because I didn't always grow up in Attawapiskat. My mother moved around a lot. And so it wasn't until my late teens to young adult life that I was finally able to go back home. And so in my adult life, I'm learning about these teachings. I knew that those were there, but I didn't always understand why we had them. So thank you.
Miigwech, yeah, you talking about traditional games or just games from this area. I think also of Gunabik, which is the snow snake.
Oh yes, we have that one too. Yeah, Gunabik, yeah.
Yeah, we carved that giant stick and put it in beaver oil or whatever, and you want to slide it across the ice. So a lot of these games that are from our communities and revitalizing them and bringing them here. So lacrosse, we used to bring lacrosse players in to teach them how to make the lacrosse sticks and play with the kids. So that was really exciting. So thank you for sharing about traditional games. Definitely on the radar and using the, incorporating the things around us into it. And
well, our version of snake was kokum, and we made a human snake. And so all the people had to hold on to kokum and she would protect us. And then there was somebody trying to get us. And so we eventually, we become the snake as we're, as she's trying to protect us.
Amazing. Yeah, miigwech. I see also Colleen has your hand. Just one moment though. Harriet has put in the chat that they came to school with the Wabagut mask one time, which is hilarious. And they've also posted that Connected North offers the Tabahun sessions with Stan Wesley. So thank you for adding those. And Colleen. Oh, you might be on mute.
I was in and out because of doing work online with emails, and so anyways, in and out. But I noticed that we're in a small group. Maybe one day, hopefully, with NAN, I'll be the hoping to be the main guest speaker somewhere in there where I could combine all of you guys together to come together, and I would navigate how to help you guys with the language. When it comes down to that other lady that spoke, she really caught my attention. She said, to help out adults learn. That's what I'm trying to do for the adults to learn, because I find that children, I find that children already have enough support. I noticed that educational system, but as far when they turn 16 and over, and 18 and over, all the way up to the 20s, some of them 30s, 40s, 50s, that there's not enough help. So that's what I do. They're left out, and left out children, guess where they go after? You wonder why they start to get into wrong places. So that's what I do. It's past. I work with past people that are 18 years of age and over, because the law said that our children are adults by the time when they turn 16, and some say 18 or 19, but I don't agree with that. I think we should be teaching our children all the way. Why should we have to leave them in between from the ages from 18 all the way up to 45 or 50, and one day decide, one day when they're looking for help, decide to tell them, okay, now you go see your elders for help. Why does it have to be a certain age? We're all set up into categories, and we shouldn't be asking for hanging around with elders by the time we wait till we get older. We should be doing it now while we're young. And I am what do you call that? What did you want to say?
The 7 ceremony, that's when the boy and the girls 16, 20, that's when they go fast 4 days to hang out with the elders and thing.
Yes, that's the ceremonies. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Excuse me. No, not my dog. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, so that's my son. Trying to explain about the 7 ceremonies. What else? And everything I do, I am offer serve native. I'm in Matheson, and I we call it I'm considered I find that some people in the north will communicate with me, and I find that some of them want to keep on going and not really acknowledge that I don't know how else to say this. Like I do have the language. I find hopefully soon that's got to stop, because I find I'm really digging around. I go try to get help with services from up north, communities, especially. Stop it! He doesn't know I'm online. My dog. That's my husky. So offer serve native, and I have these ideas like I used to live in the north, so I moved over here because the services were lacking. I used to live way up north, originally from Pewanak area, Holly Lake, about 150 miles away. It's called Southern Lake. So, but lived in Muslim Musfatri, so I came this way because services were not there. And what else? I've been looking at the special education. Special education is missing in our jurisdiction. For our part, it's missing special education. I listened to your ideas. They're great, but I wasn't there for most of it. So special education for youth. And I noticed that especially some of our programs do out there, the youth are, I was told that they're independent, to leave them alone. to let them gain confidence, for example, and responsibility. Yes, a bone. I give them a bone. And so anyway, I find that it's much better to stick with them today, the youth, to hang out with them. And oh, go ahead.
Oh, me, Gwech Kali. Just coming back to your, you touched on how we leave a specific age group of youth or young people, adults after 16. Are there specific games that you play with that age group to revitalize language or to transfer it? What are the games that you play with those older adults?
Okay, older games is the simple stuff like sitting around talking to them about history, the past. That's there's no gaming for me really. I just sit there at a calm, well, try to have a calm, try to be calm, because around that age from 16 to all the way to 18, 19, 25, 26, that's around the time when they get some of these people, young people, feel like they are shy a little bit, maybe intimidated or curious, or some have some anxieties. So you can't really force all of them to play sports, or not all of them can play sports. So that's where I come in, where I advocate on educating you guys that sports for me is sitting down with them and just letting them talk. Or I say, hey, let's if possible, like let's have a wiener roast, or cook with them. That's what I do for sports. I cook with them. I teach them how to cook, because in our history, as I noticed that a lot of these men today, not all of them, but some of them are very depending on women to work, pay the bills, cook, clean, do laundry, everything. And so for me, I am reversing that. That's what I do at home every day. I try to avoid certain stuff where I'm reversing parenting, reversing the cycle. Oh, anyway, I try my best.
Well, thank you for sharing. Oh,
go ahead.
I was
Yeah.
just going to say thank you for sharing, and I was going to just transfer the conversation just because we had 3 more minutes and there's a couple other people in the space, but thank you so much for sharing, Colleen. Lots of advocacy in there and lots of spending time with young people. I just wanted to bring our attention to the chat. Catherine had put in a mentor apprenticeship program in Northwest Territories where fluent speakers are paired with language learners, so a mentorship program. And we were just wondering if you have more information about that program, Catherine, or if you could pop the link into the chat. I also know that Northern Manitoba is doing a month-long immersion program. Ojibwe Motarida is doing their immersion programs. Eshke is, but there isn't one specific to our region. So it would be really nice to continue to advocate for that in our area. So if you could find that link, that would be great. And so I see we have 2 more minutes left. And I'm wondering, does anyone have some games that they just need to share with the group? Like, this is the best game ever. Tamara? Yeah, I see you reaching.
Okay. One thing my students love is whatever words I teach them throughout the week, because I try and not to change it on them, because I find that students have a hard time putting things into their long-term memory. So I try and do a word, say, I'll do 10 words a week. And then what the kids love is I'll put the words in English around the room, and I'll say it in Ojibwe, and I pair them up into groups, and they love competing. And whoever's the first one out of the group goes and touches it if they know the answer to it. And they always request for that game. And the other thing that I haven't started yet that I'm working on making is we started learning about money. So I took that game, Deal or No Deal. So I'm putting the amount in Ojibwe written in the back. And if the kids select the number, they have to say the number of the suitcase in Ojibwe if they want it. And then they continue preceding the game with Deal or No Deal. So right now I'm just working on making that up. I just had everything laminated and then I came to the workshop. So
Well, thank you guys for joining. And that sounds like a great game. It's really easy to start making games with language, you know, just like you, thinking creatively. And so we were imagining this breakout room to be just a creative spark for one another, because sometimes we get bogged down in just doing it one way. And I see that Catherine has also posted the link in the chat. So that's great. Anyone who wants to look at that program, it's there. We have Adopt a Hunter and storytelling. And yes, Harriet, NAN just released their 4-week sessions again. So if you want to go to these beginner classes, they'll be held in the evenings for 1.5.
All right, Cass is there. And I suspect we're waiting for Dimikwe and some others to. That was a very good session. People really enjoyed that. And so thank you for suggesting people share their activities and games, because there are so many innovative and fun games that came out of that session. We touched on traditional games, board games, outdoor activities, and because of the COVID lockdown and everybody could not see each other in person, how teachers had to adapt and use the internet to play games and of course lessons with the students. It forced us to adapt, and I was one of them. I had to train myself how to do Zoom and how to do recordings from home, and so it's been a real curve for me, a real learning curve, but we did it, and so here we are. So Cass, did you want to wait a little bit more, or did you want to share? Oh, here he is, Mikwe. Hello.
Here I am.
Yeah, he's gonna sit beside me.
You're back from the kitchen. You're out there making a sandwich.
Slaving away over
Yeah.
here.
Okay, good guy.
Well, as I mentioned, thank you for coming up with that fun way to come up with new games, activities for the kids, and we got a ton of suggestions, and I know that the teachers shared so many wonderful ideas that they jotted them all down. So games not just for the kids, but also for the adults. I got pages of stuff here. Did you want me to mention a few?
Yeah, do you want to do a share back of some of the games that you talked about? We're going to compile them into a document after to share out again, but it'd be nice to hear some of it.
All right, here we go. Michael, and this came up time and time again, a scavenger hunt. I like that idea. They would, the teacher would put the kids out on a scavenger hunt in a bag. There's a bag, and then you reach in and you would have to look for a rock. Maybe somebody pulls out a feather or an acorn, and then off they go. So a scavenger hunt in language, but also a learning experience. But it was, I thought, I never would have thought of a scavenger hunt. And it came up time and time again that the youth didn't even know that they were learning language. They just knew that it was a fun activity, and off they went, right? Everybody's happy. Yahtzee, the game Yahtzee, that came up several times, and apparently there is a Yahtzee game that somebody came up with. I can't remember what community it was, but there is Little Traverse Bay made an Anishinaabewin Yahtzee game, and it's a hit for sure. And so thank you to Clarice. Clarice had some wonderful ideas there, but Yahtzee came up time and time again. Bingo, of course, is popular in the community, and Dorothy suggested bingo using colors, animals, or numbers for bingo. Fruit basket. I've never played the fruit basket game, but I think you upset the fruit basket and there's colors, and you can use colors or animals in the fruit basket. Flashcards came up time and time again. You can memorize the flashcard. Oh, this was good. So you have a bunch, maybe 4 or 5 flashcards. You have the kids out in front of you. You show, you know, a bear, a deer, an owl, something, you know, different animals. And then you take one away and then you show them again and which one is missing. So the kids would have to figure out, remember what animal is missing. I thought that was good. What's in the bag? That sounds like a fun game too, right? Translating poems into language or songs, you know, and the kids love the hip hop these days. I don't know what the modern dance music. If you translated like Beyonce or somebody, that would be something. This was a good one. Comic books. Comic books are so popular, as we all know, superheroes and whatnot. Someone would take a comic book and then put the talking bubbles over the heads of the characters in the comic books, and then you would create your own story or write in a language, whatever that character might be saying. So comic books. Pardon me, translating songs. The nursery rhyme song. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but that sounds like fun. And Flora is so popular with the kids. There she is there, that they always request the nursery rhyme song. And that's where you translate nursery rhymes into language and then have everybody sing it. And then it involves lots of action as well. So number play games in the number counting. Oh yeah, the numbers game. I guess you count up and up and up. And because there's 31 days in a month, the kids would learn up to 31. So every week or whatever, they would learn a certain set of numbers until they get to 31. The syllabic song with pictures and flashcards, that keeps coming up as a big tool. Mary suggested for kindergarten, take kids out on the land. I thought that wasn't great. So take kids out on the land and have them explore. But she has a spin the wheel with animals on it. So you spin the wheel, and then if it stops on a goose, then the kids make the sound of a goose or pronounce the word goose or something. So you spin the wheel. It could be a moose. It could be a goose. It's going to be a noisy classroom for sure. And I thought this was cool. Identifying animal tracks. You go outside and it doesn't matter if it's winter or fall or summer, because you're going to find tracks. So that's, I thought that was fun. There's another game came up with blue chair or rainbow chairs. So you'll have to review our session to see what that one is all about. But it involves color and it sounds like a lot of fun. A lot of teachers use colors and shapes like a circle, a heart, a star, and a square, perhaps on flashcards, but I think that's fun. Get this one, hopscotch. Hopscotch, and I thought, well, Ojibwe numbers on the hopscotch, but here's the thing. I thought, well, how can you play that in the winter? But I'm not very smart. They said they use Bristol board to make the hopscotch across the floor, and then the kids are hopping around. I'll be done soon. Here we go. People are running out of ideas out there, so Clarice thanked everybody for sharing your games activities for the kids here. And the W5 game, and you'll have to review our session how that works, but it's who, what, where, when, and why. So you could make a story about Santa Claus. Who? Santa Claus. Where? Well, it was on Manitoulin Island. When, who, what, where, and so on and so forth. At the end, then you have a sentence, a crazy sentence, maybe about Santa Claus. And so the W5 game. And Doreen, who teaches grade 5 through 9. Oh yes, the COVID lockdown. The kids got new tablets, and she was able to communicate with her class at home. And so she had to update her technical knowledge, and as I have had to, and she plays all kinds of games, the Cahoots game, and she recommended a website called Quizlet, where you plug in the syllabics and then games automatically are generated. So the internet is coming to recognize language, but it's called Quizlet, I guess Quizlet.com perhaps. And there are more and more websites out there to help with language. So that's what our group came up with.
Amazing. I could only imagine a weekend with all of those people. A lot of games.
Very fun.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
But
Oh, so yeah. So a lot of the games you mentioned, and I'm looking at the list of the other room. I don't want to give don't want to overlap too much, but one of the themes that I noticed came out of your group as well as mine was an emphasis on the space being a natural environment. So outside in the bush, outside the classroom, wherever, there were a lot of great ideas in those spaces, especially, scavenger hunts came up a lot as well. You can do a traditional scavenger hunt, have a piece of paper. You can have a scavenger hunt, go find something that's crinkly, go find something that's hard, that's soft, whatever, right? And there was another one of this fly swatter game that I need to find more about. I didn't get too much information about it, but you, once again, utilizing flashcards, right? Place them all over the classroom of various either nouns or verbs, and then you tell your students go find this thing, and then they go around and smack it with their fly swatter. So I could easily see that getting out of hand, but
yeah, very out of hand.
It could be fun. Yeah, it could be fun. But yeah.
All right, my group, we had a lot of different types of game making. So puppetry and using puppets to tell stories or to play games with children, but also making clothing for the puppet and doing that in an immersion, and bringing our old used cloths or materials from home and remaking them into new things. So creating puppets with our children or adults. And we had a comment about making everything into a game. So even if you're just sitting in the room and you can imagine the floor is lava, or using your hands to count numbers, but just turning everything into a game is a real talent. And the people who are able to do that, big shout out to you, because we love you. And so then we talked about mini race games. So just putting that competition into things, a little bit of competition to see who can identify things the fastest, to play Go Fish, Yahtzee, I Spy, Bingo, Kahoot, the Quizlet. And we had a Buju ball. So you have the ball and you say, Buju, Cassandra and Dishnikas, Gindash. And then that person would be like, hi, my name is, and pass the ball and start generating conversations with the ball. And I wonder what that would be like if you had multiple balls going at the same time. So you have to be like, Buju, Buju, Buju. But having a game like that creates conversation, and you got to be aware. So that was fun. Games and music. And then we touched on a lot of traditional games. So Tabahan, I think that's what it's called. It's like a stick string game, or tug of war, miniature sleds, snow snake, lacrosse. So a lot of the games that we played historically in our communities and continue to play, and using the but using the things around us to play those games. And that was really exciting to talk about. And yeah, then Deal or No Deal. So pretty much adapting and developing games that we already play into the games we have today. So lots of fun, lots of conversation.
Yeah, and what is interesting is that the traditional games that our ancestors played, like Snow Snake and whatnot, and those are more physical, of course, and perhaps for older students, but involving phys ed and outdoor activity, and just, I guess, explaining how the game would be played, or what our ancestors did. So I think that's something that we have the indigenous games. A lot of the students work towards that, and some of them actually get to participate and travel to the indigenous games of North America, which I think is amazing. And a lot of those games, I think, happened up in Nunavut at one time. So perhaps incorporating on a grander scale those physical physical sports and learning about that in language, of course.
Mhm. And I see in the chat that Harriet, I think, is referring to the Buju ball game, but playing that with a ball of yarn and then getting all entangled. That would be so fun. And having to work through language to untangle, like lift your arm, do this, that would be quite fun. But basically, we also know that our time is nearing the end. So we want to say thank you. And we hope that this discussion was really used to spark imagination and maybe inspire you with some new games. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel, as we said earlier, but we have a lot of talented and skilled people in our communities that know all these different types of games. And so how do we bring them into our classrooms? How do we create immersion games out of that? And so on. So miigwech from me, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, miigwech.
Yeah, okay.
Well said. I know that Little Bear enjoyed it, and games for the children in language immersion. Everybody give a internet applaud to Cass and also Bimikawe. Miigwech, you guys, we'll talk to you again down the conference trail somewhere.
Hi. Hi, anybody hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I've been trying to get somebody's attention, waving and waving.
I thought
Yeah.
you were just flirting with me. I'm sorry. Go ahead. It's Colleen. Hello, Colleen.
Yeah. No, I now I'm blushing.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a question. Not to put anybody on the spot here, but given that I live off reserve and I'm an urban off reserve native, that I'm trying to look for that USB stick that's originally for only Swampy Creek people. Does anybody know where I can get that from?
Are you
Like, 'cause
talking
I have-
about the Ojibwe, like the Ojibwe and Creek Cultural Center? Like they have a lot of resources there. Are you talking about a USB stick full of language?
Yes, I tried there already and they don't have it. So I'm trying to find out who has that. If they could please share with me that USB stick so that way I can plug it into my laptop and I can help people that way too, because I have it on my phone. I could type out no, some of the stuff, not to say I know everything too either. Like for this example, I have this on my just bear with me. I have this on my phone. Where's the other? Where'd it go? Like I have this on my phone. If you look at the chat box, I'm able to do it on my phone. Through my phone, but I can't do it through a laptop. That's why I'm trying to look for that USB stick or something. Yes, that's what I go through. I'm trying to look for Mushkego education at Mushkego. Okay, I'll try that. Okay, I seen it in the box. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Lorraine.
Yes,
And thank you, Colleen.
yes,
The sharing circle is awesome.
yes, and nice to meet new people again. Because I am I also translate for NAN on
Right.
virtual meeting. Yeah, virtual or in person. Thank you.
Okay, Miigwech. All right, you two, they're gone. They are exhausted and they are gone. All right, I believe that is our session for now. We're going to take a break and we'll be back at 4 o'clock to have our closing prayer from our elder. So get some tea into you, some bannock, and we will see you in just a little bit here. Miigwech.